The day I lost two people at once. It's funny how life can look picture-perfect from the outside, even when it's falling apart at the seams. My name is Emily Carter, and up until last summer, I thought I had it all. A loving husband, Ryan, a best friend, Sarah, and a comfortable life in a cozy suburban neighborhood just outside of Chicago. People envied me. They thought I had it figured out. They didn't see the small cracks forming behind the smiles and Instagram posts. But I did. I just didn't want to admit it. It started with the small things. Ryan would come home later than usual, offering vague explanations about meetings that seemed to stretch into the night. Sarah, my vibrant, always available best friend, had started dodging my calls, claiming she was swamped with work. I told myself they were both just busy. That's what adults did, right? They got busy. But the truth has a way of finding you, no matter how tightly you shut your eyes. One evening, Ryan was in the shower when his phone lit up. The message preview was from Sarah. My heart stopped as I read the words, "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." The world tilted on its axis. My fingers trembled, but my mind went numb. I told myself it could be a misunderstanding, some inside joke I wasn't in on. But deep down, a cold, hard voice whispered the truth. I didn't confront Ryan that night. I needed to see Sarah first. I invited her over for coffee the next morning, pretending everything was fine. When she walked in, wearing that familiar carefree smile, I wondered how long she had been lying to me. We talked about random things, but my mind kept circling back to that message. Finally, I asked her, "Are you sleeping with my husband, Sarah?" The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The silence was louder than any confession. Tears brimmed in her eyes as she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen." I felt like I was watching a scene from a bad movie. But this was real. This was my life. I wanted to scream, to throw her out of my house. But instead, I sat there, numb and still, as my so-called best friend crumbled in front of me. That evening, I confronted Ryan. There was no denying it. He confessed. "It started a few months ago," he said, avoiding my eyes. "It was never supposed to be serious, Em. I don't even know why it happened. But I knew. We had been drifting apart, living parallel lives under the same roof. I had sensed it, but I had been too scared to face it. The days that followed were a blur. Everyone had an opinion. Some blamed Ryan, others blamed Sarah. But no one could understand what it felt like to lose your husband and your best friend in one blow. I moved out and stayed with my sister in her downtown apartment. The nights were the hardest. The silence screamed louder than any argument we had ever had. I started therapy because, frankly, I didn't know what else to do. I needed someone to help me untangle the mess in my head. It wasn't just about Ryan and Sarah. It was about me, about how I had lost myself in a life that wasn't really mine. Therapy was brutal at first. I cried through most sessions, feeling like a failure. But slowly, I started seeing things differently. I realized I had been molding myself into what everyone else needed me to be. The perfect wife. The dependable best friend. Somewhere along the line, I had forgotten who Emily Carter was. I took up running. It sounds cliché, but those early morning jogs became my sanctuary. With every step, I felt like I was shedding layers of betrayal, anger, and sadness. I started reading again, took a solo trip to New York, and even started freelancing as a marketing consultant. For the first time in years, my life revolved around me. 6 months later, Ryan reached out. He wanted to meet. Part of me wanted to slam the door on that chapter, but another part needed closure. We met at a small cafe downtown. He looked different, tired, older, maybe even remorseful. "I'm so sorry, Em," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I ruined everything." I listened, not because I was hoping to rekindle anything, but because I needed to hear him own it. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. He admitted that what he did was inexcusable, but also confessed that he had felt disconnected for a long time. We both had. I forgave him, not for his sake but for mine. Carrying that bitterness was exhausting. Forgiveness wasn't about letting him off the hook. It was about freeing myself from the weight of betrayal. Sarah tried to reach out too. She sent messages, left voicemails, even wrote a letter. But I had nothing left to say. Some betrayals are simply unforgivable. A year later, I found myself standing in my own apartment, a place I chose, decorated, and filled with things that made me happy. My career had taken off, and I had a new circle of friends who respected boundaries and valued honesty. I still think about Ryan and Sarah sometimes. The scars are there, but they no longer define me. They're just reminders of how far I've come. I lost 2 people that day, but I found someone far more important, myself. Life isn't perfect, but it's real, and it's mine. The end.